Why are razors so darn expensive? Maybe it's because those billion-dollar shave companies overload their razors with ridiculous shave tech that you don't need. Do you really need a razor with a vibrating handle? No! Stop paying out the nose and make the switch to DollarShaveClub.com. DollarShaveClub.com sends amazing quality razors and other cool bathroom stuff right to your door for a couple of bucks a month. It really, honestly, couldn't be any easier than that. Dollar Shave Club doesn't waste their money on ridiculous, stupid, tacky gimmicks and techniques. That's one of the ways they can charge a fraction of what the big shave companies charge. And you know what? I think DollarShaveClub.com blades are actually better. And signing up couldn't be easier. Just go to DollarShaveClub.com and pick a razor plan. They have 3 to choose from. Then every month, like clockwork, you'll get a package in the mail with Dollar Shave Club blades. And they've got other great stuff like Dr. Carver's Easy Shave Butter and One Wipe Charlie's, the peppermint infused butt wipes for men. And who doesn't want a minty butt? Thanks to DollarShaveClub.com, you'll never forget to buy blades and you'll never get nicked up from squeezing one too many shaves out of that last blade in your pack. Say no to the big shave companies and their ridiculously overpriced shave tech. Join Ask Women and the hundreds of thousands of guys who've upgraded to the smart way to shave. Shave time, shave money. Join DollarShaveClub.com/AskWomen. That's DollarShaveClub.com/AskWomen.
The following program is a podcast1.com production.
Podcast1.com presents the Ask Women Podcast. A place where 2 comics and a professional wing girl get together to dissect the female mind.
You don't know how I feel.
And explain it to men in terms they can actually understand. Booze. Now, here's the lovely ladies of Ask Women.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the Ask Women Podcast, where we get real advice straight from the source. I'm Kristen Carney, a comedian, host, confused human being. Of course, here with Marni Kinrys, bestselling author of Get Inside Her and relationship expert. And we have 2 guests right now at the beginning of the show. We also have 2 people coming in at the end of the show as well. Later on, we're going to have Jen Brown from the NFL Network coming in, as well as Mike Catherwood from Loveline, who joins us every now and then. But currently, more importantly, we have Ryan Keeley.
Until the second half of the show.
Until the second
they'll
half.
be more important.
They're so important after you guys. So we have Ryan Keeley in the house, who is host of Muff Said, but I know you said you're going through a transition currently.
Currently, I'm hosting a show on Playboy TV. If you are a Playboy channel subscriber, you can watch me every Wednesday night. My show is called Jukebox Live, where we play live porno clips, and you can call in and request what you want to see.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see some hot cheerleaders getting it on. And I'm like, okay, so-and-so, let's play it.
Well, that's awesome, because we have someone related to Roman Polanski here. I'm just kidding.
So they say.
We have John Polanski, who we're going to be taking, I guess, getting advice from a man.
I guess we're going to be taking.
Polanski,
getting, all of it.
Getting, whatever.
Yes.
But John's here to talk to us about some dating apps and some experiences he's had with Tinder, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, lots of stuff out there. A lot more apps that are coming up like on a daily basis. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
crazy
actually,
out
I
there.
want to get right into the man's playbook, because this is a segment that we do and we haven't actually done in a while.
Yeah.
So for this week in the man's playbook, we're going to talk about dating in the technical era.
Are you horny to win?
It is the worst. You guys can judge us. Don't
That
worry.
was like
We're not
sports
worried.
related or something.
Well, because it's the man's playbook. Chapters in the
I get it,
playbook.
I get
Oh,
it, I
Playbook's
get
a
it.
sports thing.
It's a sports thing.
Yes, come on.
And so
step
we're
up.
horny to win.
I'm a theater
apparently.
nerd, okay? Don't hang out
Comic
with jock
books.
people.
Exactly.
Okay, so I actually want to ask you about Tinder because Mr. Polanski right off the bat, because
You can call me John.
John, why can't I call you Mr. Polanski?
Okay, fine. That's all right.
Mr.
That's good.
Just makes him sound
Polanski.
dirty.
That sounds so naughty. Exactly.
A good friend of mine, Lenora, has been on Tinder, and she has been saying that she's been hooking up with the hottest dudes of her life. So I gotta ask, as a man, are you getting like sex with hot ladies?
Yes,
Yes, I am.
But
but well, it depends. What is she looking for? Let me ask you that. Like, what is she? Because here's the thing with like Tinder, there's this misconception that it's a hookup site, and it is.
totally is.
But
Doesn't have to be.
It's like straight people
but
get Grindr.
There's a lot of people that look for like serious relationships, and there's a lot of like good stories. I haven't heard of any marriages or anything like that, but there's like good stories that come out of it. Seriously.
So what's one of your good stories?
I actually dated someone for like about a month or so.
That's
Really?
the
Yeah.
good story?
That's the good story.
That's the good story.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we were
you know,
setting the bar really low here.
no, I mean, I've met a lot of girls through Tinder because let's get down to the basics of it, which is basically you're looking at someone and deciding if you're attracted to that person or not. That's just it, bottom line. You have very little information. There's not a lot of area to put your stuff. And it's just very simple stuff. So you either think the person's hot or you don't. And it's just very entertaining.
Which is the same thing that happens typically when you're outside of the Tinder space and the technical world.
True.
That's how you pick up and approach people.
Yeah, but you're not having a conversation with anyone. It's just like there's this picture of someone. If you think they're hot, then it opens up this chat box and boom, you're in. So it's very simple, very basic. And, a lot of people might have a problem with, it's so superficial. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So it's online dating.
It's online dating. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then you get to the chatting afterwards. So tell me about Tinder from a man's point of view.
So, basically it's very simple to use because a lot of these dating websites like, Match or JDate or any of these.
eHarmony.
Or eHarmony.
I love how when you just said JDate, it sounded like jaded.com.
It is like jaded.com.
The only dating website I've ever been on is jdate.com.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not Jewish?
There's a willing to convert option.
That actually is
very
true.
I like
interesting.
uncircumcised penises.
There's a lot of girls like
So
you.
you can guarantee
on
that's happening there.
Oops.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So, there's a lot of weirdos on JDate. There's a lot of weirdos on online dating
really
too.
true.
A lot. Like I hear these just awful, awful stories.
It's weird that Jews can be weirdos.
Total weirdos, like
I wouldn't
closet
picture
freaks.
Jewish people to be weirdos. They're too almost grounded to be weirdos.
I have this one friend that has quite possibly, that's so funny, that she has quite possibly the best stories ever. Like, one guy asked her what her feet look like.
I feel like those are Christians just going on JDate.
No.
Those are the
No, these
weirdos.
are Jews. These are Jews.
No,
They're
yeah.
real Jews?
Straight up.
Jews tend to be more fetish oriented in the sack. I think
Really?
it's because they have less shame around sex, so they're more comfortable expressing their fetishes earlier in a relationship.
Right.
Whereas Christians,
And they're told they're allowed to have whatever they want by their mommies.
Yeah.
So they ask
That
for
is
it.
true. That
Yes,
is true.
Very true.
Yeah, so
But
they're
sorry,
just
I
acting
interrupted
out.
you.
That's okay. So, what do your feet look like? And this was like the first conversation. She had a guy that just whipped it out in the car on the first date, not provoked whatsoever. The
From
date was
JDate.
going not very, very well.
So it's like, well.
They're driving home, and then there it
Best
just
chance.
goes right there.
That's like a Mike Catherwood
where-
thing, actually.
Exactly.
Like, at what point in your twisted head did that seem okay? You
maybe
know what I
he
mean?
knew that the date was going horribly, so it was like a last ditch effort. Like maybe
Really?
if she
She's like,
sees
let's
my
maybe try and
weight-
spice it up a
That's-
little bit and see what
that's
happens.
I have
Massively
seen
laughable.
porno movies, and this totally works.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I know this isn't going well, but here's my penis. Enjoy it.
That's crazy.
So yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on out there. So
And you think Tinder is less weird than some of the other sites?
I think there's a lot of like freaky stuff going on Tinder, but I think it just takes it, like I said, down to like, the carnal basic thing, which is, I think you're hot, you think I'm hot, let's
So-
go out and hang out.
My question is, because some people are dating off of Tinder and
Mm-hmm.
some aren't, how do you make that differential between, and when you look at someone, how do you know if they're just going to want to hook up or go on a full date?
You really don't know. You'll
You
figure
don't
that
know.
out. And there's actually websites now that make fun of some of these Tinder conversations because some of them are just so out there and weird. You know what I mean? And then some of them are just actually normal.
Like genuine.
So it really just depends like what you're looking for. If you want to hook up or if you think this girl's kind of dirty or naughty, then just go for it. Just throw it out there and see if she vibes back. And if she does, set it up, hook it up, and you're done.
Yeah.
If you see like, all right, a little possibility in this girl and maybe you want to, something future-wise with her, you just go, in that direction.
So
Be
it's
nice,
like
be a
dating
good guy.
outside of the technical world. Exactly the same.
Kind of is. It kind of is.
The thing that I think about, dating online or dating with all of these different apps or services, you don't have to just do one of them. I think that what they do is they provide you with options that you can explore. So there's nothing wrong with being on Tinder. There's nothing wrong with also being on Match.com. There's nothing wrong with also going to singles mixers. There's nothing wrong with also asking your friends, do you have girls to hook me up with? I think it's just another avenue to
It is.
explore for dating. And it just provides you with options.
Absolutely.
Same thing, if
Tinder
you-
just to me, like if we're comparing it to avenues and streets, like Tinder's that weird back road that has no street sign yet.
See, I see it as the opposite,
Yes.
to be honest.
No,
I see it
I
as
agree.
the awesome street.
But it's gonna
really nice shoes
it's
on.
gonna
The cul-de-sac,
jump.
not the cul-de-sac,
It's gonna
yeah.
jump up. Like it's gonna gain more popularity. I think.
You
Look,
have to be on Facebook to be on Tinder, right?
you do
Yeah.
because it calls your matches from Facebook.
Well, Ryan, do
basically.
you ever date online? Like, how do you
Yeah,
meet
Ryan.
men?
I have no problem meeting men.
Right.
I tried JDate a little bit.
Right.
And
I love that. I think that's amazing. I can't even imagine the type of guys that you met on JDate.
Well, the thing about, like, I love Jewish men, but the problem is I had to quit dating them because I am a Jewish mother's worst nightmare. So it was, I'd get these great relationships with these awesome dudes, and then it'd be like, well, this is never going to go anywhere because you will never introduce me to your mother.
You have to hide the tattoo. So
well, it's not the tattoo; it's the fact that I'm like a retired lesbian porn star. That's usually
might be a problem. It might be an issue.
That's the only
I would
thing
wait till
we're
like the
seeing.
third or
Interesting
fourth
Passover
date. Yeah,
conversation.
that might have to wait a little bit
But
down
I
the line.
love Passover.
But it makes your tattoo look so good though when you tell people that.
Right?
It looks like a crucifix.
So then how are you meeting people?
I always meet through friends, pretty much. Because of my background, a lot of people try to instantly put me in the, like, fuck toy box because of my background because my sexuality was professional for a while. People assume that, like, I'm just like this fantasy woman and I'm going to let them do whatever.
Right.
And so for me it takes me a long time to get comfortable with people, to be like, okay, now I know you well enough. I know that you respect me enough that I can take my clothes off in front of you.
Interesting.
So, yeah, because it went from, like, I was such a hoe in my early 20s, like such a hoe, and now I'm like, I need to protect my heart and stuff because
Right.
so many people just
You have to try
assume
that much
you're-
harder to, like,
Well,
have them
everyone
think outside the box.
Yeah.
Like, you're not this, like, you are a human being. And
Yes, Ryan Keeley's a fantasy person on the internet, and there are some really great videos of me living out some really amazing fantasies, but that's not who I am every single day.
okay.
Right. So do you ever use technology to date?
Hell no.
Really?
No. Well,
Not at all.
actually,
She
I've
get a lot
met
of action on Tinder.
people.
A lot of action.
I got a lot of
Gorgeous,
action
gorgeous.
on MySpace back in the day.
Oh my God.
Like
She
I
just
was,
made a MySpace
I was
reference.
the MySpace bandit, and my thing was that I would seek out like minor celebrities that I had a thing for, and I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna bang this person and get it on my system. So that's totally what I did. That, but I'm also not on Facebook. Like I have a fan page, but I don't have a personal page, so I can't
Really?
use. Yeah, so it sucks. I can't use Lyft. I can't use Tinder.
I don't even know what Lyft is.
But I think it saves me. In a way.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that you're going out there and meeting people authentically.
So
Yeah.
what is Lyft?
Lyft, it's like Uber but cheaper.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
it's like a
okay,
car
okay.
service.
Yeah, it's car
Really?
service. Yeah.
Oh, 'cause my husband spends a fortune on Uber, and I get really upset.
Does he do Uber X?
Yes, he does Uber X now. Is it the same as Lyft, or is Lyft,
Lyft
even
is
cheaper?
Lyft might be cheaper.
I think Lyft is cheaper.
Is it just like random people who come to your house and pick you up?
Yeah, it's a little
that I don't
sketchy.
like.
But my friend Mayanne was using Lyft, and she actually met this really great driver and ended up dating him. So that's another way that technology is impacting the ways that we're dating.
Absolutely. I want to hear about more things that John's doing because when we met you, you were telling us that you're trying out all these different avenues for dating, and most of them are technology based.
Yes, they are. Well, here's the thing. Like, I really love these apps because they're just so easy to use. A lot of times you'll go on these.
Just like the women you're meeting.
Yes. They don't need to know that. They're just so easy to use. Like, if you go onto Match or any of these sites, you're sitting there for hours and hours and hours scrolling through these, profiles and looking at all this stuff. It's time consuming. Tinder, it's just like swipe left or right, boom, you're starting to have a chat conversation easier. There's a site called Coffee Meets Bagel. Have you heard of this
told us
one?
about this.
Yeah, this one's crazy.
That sounds like JDate to me.
Well, this I don't know if it's like Jewish based or what the deal is, but it also calls like search matches for you based on you fill out some information and then it puts the matches together, and at 12 o'clock every day you get a new match. Okay, and then, you see a little bit of information. There's more information than Tinder. So you have like a couple different paragraphs, and it's like, what you like in the other person, all your stats and all that stuff. And then if you both click check, it opens up, it says congratulations, and you basically, start a conversation from there. So it's very Tinder-esque, but you have a little bit more information. And also it shows, it also shows like Tinder who your mutual friends are, basically.
Oh, I like that. So
Yeah.
is this only in Los Angeles, or is this
It should be everywhere.
really
Yeah,
okay?
I think so. So
Okay, that's cool. And
yes.
So have you had success using this system?
This is relatively new to me, so I just started it. So I just started going out on a couple of dates. I had a lunch date last week that went really, really well, and I have a couple more dates lined up. So
Okay,
we'll
cool.
see. Yeah, it's kind of a new thing,
So how often are you dating because of all of these apps that you're using?
Probably like 2, maybe 3 times a week.
Okay. Are you spending a fortune on dating? Or
Well, I'm trying to like balance it out, so I'm not. I've got it down to a science now. So I'm not
Coffee
going
and
out.
bagel.
Yeah, well, Coffee is a tricky thing because if you have a feeling that you might not like the person, then coffee is great. If you're really excited and jazzed, no one's going to want to do
I
coffee.
just assume I won't like anybody, so I'd always go on coffee.
Such
I hate
pessimist.
coffee dates. I will never, ever, ever go on a coffee date ever.
But from a guy's standpoint, coffee dates are good because you're not just shelling out so much money. I mean, for a guy, it can be super expensive dating.
Lattes are getting really expensive, so they've got a
True,
limited
but I mean,
window.
drinks now these days are like $15. You know,
Exactly.
and if she's
So
an
what's the-
alcoholic,
Ryan,
then you're done.
What's
You know,
Well, what I hate is so awkward is that I like table service, and I always feel so awkward when you're like standing. If you go to
Waiting in line.
waiting in line
Ugh.
for me is the most uncomfortable situation ever. Like I can't even deal with it. Like I can't even deal with it if I'm eating by myself.
What's even worse than just waiting in line with someone you're dating is standing next to people who are standing in line and awkwardly meeting for the first time, and
it's
you're
like,
overhearing the
who's gonna
conversation.
pay?
So
And it's
fun
like
to watch
always
that.
that awkward like.
So what's the
Train
good
wreck.
thing to do if you are taken on a coffee date?
Never
what is the
go.
good thing? Okay, aside from never
hide
going.
in your bedroom and like chat on the internet with.
So
like,
then let's
people on
give us
message
two
boards.
Beyond coffee
responses.
dates.
So give us one alternative to a coffee date that is also equally not as expensive, and then an option of what you could do if you were on a coffee date, so that there isn't that awkward standing in line moment.
I like outside activities, and in any metropolis on the weekends, there's like something outside during the day in a park that
That's
you
a
can
good
go
idea.
walk around it, and
Yeah.
that for me is way better. And at that point, you can like walk around and check out the things, and whether or not it sucks, like it doesn't matter because you're outside and you have that time to walk.
And you're
around
getting
people
exercise,
get-
too, so,
yeah,
right.
And then there's that whole thing about how like actually moving around like opens up pathways in our brains and like makes it easier for us to communicate. That's why people like walk and talk in meetings.
Well, also,
Yeah.
you're going to be a
Interesting.
natural light, and you can really get a sense of if she's good looking or not.
Totally. And sundresses, are
That
always a good
actually
thing.
that's smart because you want to see someone when you're not inebriated, when there's
Yeah.
when the light is bright, and you want to see if they're
What
athletic
about
too.
for people who get nervous dating and they need that alcohol, but they're looking to do a different option, like walking outside or
Walk outside then.
yeah.
And
I just
bring
know-
a flask with you.
I know
Yeah.
for me dating, I was always really, really nervous, and I'm not a huge drinker, but having a drink would loosen me up and give me the
Go
opportunity
have a
to be
bottle of wine in a
myself.
park
Yeah.
during the day. Like if I've got a Sunday and someone's like, "Yeah, well, let's go drink a bottle of rosé in the park," that to me is amazing.
Right.
That's true. It's true. I just feel like
Trader Joe's, $2 chuck. That's a cheap date.
It's good. It's good. I just, having a drink, it'll always be like the number one thing that really loosens people up a little bit. I mean, is it ideal? Not really, because like from a guy's standpoint, it gets expensive. But at the same time, everyone gets loosened up, and you really get a sense of what the person is like. But I do like the outdoor activities too.
It's
I think
all
for a
about
hike,
something.
hikes are great. You're just walking, you're talking, you see if you like the person, see what
You
they
see
look
them
in.
struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
See
how I
if,
meat all of
see
my
if they're
wing
in good
girls.
shape.
how
that
they'll
sort
be
of
Make them
thing.
come on a hike with me.
Seriously?
Yeah, because I can tell if I get along with them. I can tell if they can keep up with me. Yeah, I make them go on hikes with me.
Well, you can see what they look like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So there's a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah,
So
plus I get to do my workout, and I'm not really cutting into my day. It ends up being perfect.
cover so many bases. I love it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, in LA is amazing. I mean, here in LA, we've got like LACMA where you don't have to pay anything to go sit
Right.
around that beautiful
There's so
campus.
many things in LA. It's crazy.
I think LACMA is my new favorite date spot because during the day it's beautiful. You can just walk around out there.
Ah, night
You
is cool,
there
too.
is that wine bar there, so you could have a glass of wine, and then if it's going really well, you can go like pay and get into an exhibition, and that's a great date.
Right.
Well, even at the Getty, they have Friday nights at the Getty during
Yep.
the summer, which are awesome. Okay, what we're saying are places in Los Angeles, but as you said before, any big city is also going to have these things.
Even
You just have
small
to do
cities.
some research.
You know, they
even
have-
small cities.
Church carnivals. I know that they're really silly, but every so often you'll be driving by a church and there'll be like some carnival. Who doesn't want to go on the whirly gig and get some cotton candy?
Right.
So even though people are using technology now to meet each other, they still want the authentic, real.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, we all want to, we want to establish a connection and we all want to have a good time and that sort of thing. That will never change. It's just finding different ways to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
So you're liking it. You're liking using technology.
I'm
to
liking
meet
it a
people.
lot. I
Do you
really
use
am. yeah.
OkCupid?
No, I'm off all of the online sites right now.
Into
OkCupid,
apps.
and yeah, I'm just app based right now. All the the websites were just driving me crazy. OkCupid, Plenty of Fish. I mean, personally, we're just not good at all. It's
Really?
like you get what
Why?
you pay for, which is nothing. And I know a lot of these apps are free too, but it's just weird stuff that was going on that site. So I took myself off all those, and I'm just doing the Tinder thing
With
right now.
Plenty of Fish, I've heard my boyfriend's coworker was using Plenty of Fish to just hook up, but my best friend from high school used it and found a husband and found a man that she made.
I mean, look, if you want to get laid, then all these sites are good.
Yeah, it's all just based on how you choose to use them.
Yeah, it's like, what are you looking for? I personally would like to find, someone that I connect with a little bit, but at the same time, if I want to, have a little fun, I'll have a little fun. So those sites are good for that. Any of the paid sites like Match or J-Date, those are good too. But like I said, you get some weird freaking people.
So what's the next
site.
app on your list that you want to use?
I don't know. I'm trying to do some research and see what else is out there. We talked a little bit about there's, not that I want this, although who wouldn't want this, that, there's like threesome apps and all that stuff, and it's some crazy stuff. So I'm doing some research.
Would you use one of those?
Fuck no.
Yeah.
She's had those days.
Dude, I went through an orgy. I have TMJ from licking pussy. Like, I am done.
I have TMJ from licking lollipops.
Take note, guys. Take note.
I don't even know what
I did so much weird stuff in my 20s that I'm done. And the last thing is that my last boyfriend, I gave him like everything, like the most awesome dirty sex of all time, and he treated me like garbage. And now in my relationships, I'm a fucking pillow princess, and I will barely suck dick, and all of a sudden I'm like getting presents and being taken out to dinner.
There you go.
And I was like, why didn't I realize this earlier? Now I understand why girls act like good girls in bedroom. Because men have this weird thing where if you are like the fun, dirty hoe that you really want to be, they treat you like that full time.
Right. They don't treat you like their mom.
Yeah.
You got to find that balance. You really do.
I would love to find that balance.
You got to find that. But did you sleep with your ex on the first date or no?
No.
Really?
No.
Interesting. All right. So I was going to say, that could be telling right there. A lot of guys mistreat women. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I really don't understand it at all.
Yeah, sometimes I understand it.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
No, I do too. Listen, people treat you how you tell them to treat you.
I guess,
So-
but at the same time, I think just a lot of guys out there are just real douchebags.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
straight
totally.
up.
I think so, too.
Just straight up. And
I
it's
don't
like
like-
a lot of it has to do with how they were brought up, how they were raised, what their values are. And
And
I
there's this weird
and I hear-
disconnect between someone that's a nice, like, I'm fucking awesome and smart and motivated and cool and everything, but I also really like to fuck. And, like, as soon as I bring out, like, that sex tigress, all of a sudden the way I'm treated gets switched.
I could see that
Yeah.
a little bit. I could see that.
I can understand that. It plays like mental games on guys too.
Yeah.
Because they have porn, they have like all these fantasies. I'm sure.
But you have to
in
break
some
that
way-
stuff out later on in the game. Let
Yeah.
them get to know who you are first, and then you can bust that stuff out. You know what I mean? You do that like too early, and then it's like the opinions are there. Forget about it. You know what I mean? So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about technology and dating
Bum, bum,
and
bum.
advising Ryan on how to be a good girl. And
Ryan has it
hold
in
back
her.
a
She
little
can
bit.
do it.
Hold back a little bit. But
She can do
coming
it.
up next, we have Jen Brown from the NFL Network, and we have Mike Catherwood from Love Line, who are going to be talking to us about dating, relationships, their opinions, jealousy, tons of stuff. So sit still, and we'll be with you in a second. Hey guys, it's Marni. Buying a car is a not so fun experience for most people, and it doesn't have to be. At TrueCar.com, they'll help you get rid of the fear that you may overpay. You know you'll get a fair price because they show you what others paid for the car you're looking for. TrueCar.com analyzes what people are paying for their cars in their market and shares it with consumers so that they never have to overpay. Over 40,000 cars were sold by TrueCar certified dealers just last month. Users see an average savings of $3,046 off MSRP. TrueCar certified dealers go through a certification process, and you work directly with a TrueCar representative that will honor your savings. TrueCar certified dealers believe that truth and transparency are essentials to a better buying experience. First, go to TrueCar.com and find out what others pay for the same vehicle in your market and around the country. Second, register at TrueCar.com to see upfront pricing information and lock in your savings certificate. And the third step is simple. Just print out your certificate and take it to the TrueCar certified dealer for a better hassle-free buying experience. TrueCar has the most comprehensive new car pricing information available and a certified network of dealers that offers a hassle-free car buying experience and negotiation-free guaranteed savings. Support the Ask Women podcast and shop at TrueCar.com.
This part of the show is brought to you by Stamps.com, a company you should be using right now.
Use the promo code PATRICK for this special offer. It's a no-risk trial plus a $110 bonus offer, which includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Patrick.
So you guys, I want to talk to you about flowers on proflowers.com. I have made the mistakes in the past because my grandmother lives in Utah. I clearly do not, thank God. Like, I've ordered them maybe like the day before and I never get really what I want. This is the way in to their heart. I always order my grandma flowers every year. This year I got roses on ProFlowers. They were super affordable for roses because roses are always really expensive. I got a striped vase. It was like $29.99 and like $5 for the vase. If you buy roses anywhere, they're always way more expensive than that. Do what I did. Go to proflowers.com and there's a little microphone up in the top. Click that and then type in ask, and then it will bring you, it'll say like, hey, Ask Women listener, and then you'll get to feel really proud while you're shopping. Go to their website and do that, the little microphone. Must do it soon because the order expires midnight on Friday. So do your shopping, go to proflowers.com, look for the little microphone button at the top right-hand side of the page, and then click that, and all you have to do is type in ask. It's not like you do a dash ask anything code. They just literally say, like, what's your password? Ask. And you can also do it by calling 1-800-PRO-FLOWERS and then mention ask to them on the phone.
Hey guys, it's Marni buying it.
You're listening to the Ask Women podcast, a Podcast One presentation.
Whatever. I love that, whatever. Okay, welcome back to the Ask Women podcast. We have the lovely, very nicely smelling Jen Brown on our show. And Jen is a 2-time Emmy Award-winning sports broadcaster. Currently, she works as a host for NFL Network, NBC, UFC, and DirecTV. You are like every man's dream.
You're my worst enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate you. Get out of here now. Well, that's what I wanted to talk about because you were saying before we got back on the show that you are newly married. I'll still say newly married, so 2 years. But how is it being a woman in a man's world and dating pre-marriage, obviously?
Well,
you did for a long time.
I've always kind of been the sports girl. So I played 7 sports in high school, softball in college. So I've always been around athletes. I was like the girl that was with all the guys. And it's interesting because that's what I've always been comfortable talking to is guys, is men. Like I get men. And so most of my friends were men. And so, it's interesting when you talk about that in dating and relationships because the thing I learned really early on is that I needed to be with somebody who was comfortable with that. Yeah. Because
a lot of guys can get intimidated.
Certainly. I'm sure.
I can feel it from Mike right now, by the way.
Wait a second. When you say before you were married, most of your friends were guys.
No, they still are. I still have, but I'm just saying, I've always.
But those guys wanted to fuck you.
I mean, I'm very good at like putting boundaries down, so that it was never. I mean, certainly that could have been the initiation, the initial thought. Maybe is like, hey, nice to meet you. Could we?
And then you put that to rest quickly.
But and then it's like, okay, she's just someone that's going to sit around and we're going to play fantasy football together and we're going to watch the game and she's going to give me advice on, is this girl like she's kind of hot? But what do you think? Like I'm the girl that's going to give him advice on, let's let that one pass. She's not the right girl for you.
That's aired out early.
Yeah.
That's it. I really think that's the only way it can, because you're way too hot to just like have male friends.
Yes, exactly.
Because guys are definitely in the back of their mind. They're like, well, I know she's laid down these boundaries, but
well, okay. So it's interesting.
She could be flexible
because this is a topic that comes up. So I am a coach. I coach men around the world.
I'm familiar with you.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. But yeah, so I get lots of emails from guys who will say, I was talking to this girl at a bar, and 5 minutes into the conversation, she slips in that she has a boyfriend. Yep. Okay, so she said it out loud, and we continue talking. She continues touching me. She asks for my phone number. We make plans for the next week. And he's like, okay, so obviously it's a challenge. But that's interesting that guys think that. So typically what I write back to these guys, and it may not be for every single scenario, I say, you signed a silent contract when she said, I have a boyfriend. And you said, okay, and continue talking, and then continued a friendship, accepted a phone number, and then possibly planned for future get-togethers. Women can be friends with men, even if they are attracted to them and they have a significant other. Yeah. It's not like, okay, well, we're friends for now. Yeah, and I'm thinking about this boyfriend. I might want to be with him, but maybe you have a chance of being with me.
See, I was that girl. I was that girl. Like I would, I always made sure if I meet a guy, because someone, I'm in the business where I meet a lot of people, and someone comes up and starts talking to me, I'll talk to anybody. But I always made sure that I worked in immediately, like, oh, what do you do, or where do you live? I'm like, oh, I live in Manhattan Beach with my boyfriend. I always made sure that I got that in the first minute, so that they knew that I had someone that I was committed to. We can keep on talking. I'll talk for days,
but I'm telling you where I am. There's nothing else more.
I always run into the situation where I'm afraid I won't be as valuable to them if I say I have a boyfriend. So I'll let it go way too long to where it gets really weird. And then You know,
then you're on a
eventually.
date with him, and you're
Right.
like, all right,
It's so funny. It's so funny because, like, from my point of view, I lead off a lot of conversations with girls that I meet. I did this with my wife, and that makes them want to fuck me more.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Well, exactly.
For women, that's a
Well, it's
desirable
like
trait.
they initiate the conversation going on. I was single once, and a lot of times girls would say like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend or I have a husband." I'd be like, "Oh, okay, well." It was a real pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
Take it
like,
easy.
see ya.
Yeah, I didn't see any value in kind of at least portraying the idea that I was interested initially, like you said, with anything else. Why would I? I mean, it doesn't make me a bad guy.
No, it
I'm
doesn't
sure
make you
you're
a
a
bad
great
guy.
person. Maybe we could be friendly, but for right now,
Right
the
now, I
reason
would
I
have
came up
sex
and
with
talked to you is because like my dividing rod went up, bing, 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 when I saw you walk in the room.
Yeah, I always think it's uncomfortable because, or if someone sends over drinks, like, you know, if you're at a bar with friends and someone sends over drinks, like, I always want to be like, hey, let them know I've got, you know, like, I've got a husband, like, they're, you know, I appreciate the drink. I don't think you should buy it for me because obviously,
wave with your left hand.
Yeah, I don't think that it's an intention that you just like want to buy me a drink. You know, it's like you want to talk, you want to see if things can go further. I think it's really important to establish right away that you have a significant other.
But you're surrounded by a lot of really successful, very testosterone-fueled guys.
Sure.
They probably don't look at the wedding ring as anything more than just an insignificant roadblock.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I think that
it's like an orange cone.
Men in really any really high profile position, whether be it they're an actor or a musician or an athlete, are used to having women. I used to say I wanted to write a book that said why I would never marry or date a musician, an actor, or an athlete, and I married an actor, so it's really funny. I think that they're constantly having women that do throw themselves at them, or they're getting propositioned a lot more than just like, let's say, an average Joe that works a 9-to-5 job. But I think that it's still, I'm in control. So I actually dealt with this in a previous relationship where I was with a guy who was very insecure about what, when I was out at these events and me talking to people, and I said, look, you don't understand. I'm in control. I'm in control. So even if they come up and they say, they have their intentions of wanting to see if it could go further, and I say I have a boyfriend, and let's say I do give him my phone number because maybe it's because I want to do a feature on them, or I want to further that relationship business wise. If they call me and they still or text me or whatever and say, hey, what are you doing later? I got to, I'm still in control, and that's what I think that, I'm in control still. Sure. It'll happen. I kind of know how to deal with it. It actually doesn't happen as frequently as you'd think. You would think that I'd be on the sidelines. I'm in the locker room. I'm doing these interviews, and I'm getting propositioned all the time. I think it's really about how you carry yourself, and I let it know. And like, I'm in a very happy relationship.
Yeah, like
I'm
it's
not
awkward.
looking. Yeah, it's like I think when people throw the gray area around and they're comfortable with that, then of course, then it opens it up.
Well, I'll say that when I was younger, I didn't know how to balance that as well as I do now. When I was younger, I used my sexuality and my femininity because that's all that I thought I had. Even though I knew I was smart or whatever, but like I thought that around men I could use my sexuality and my femininity. And like what Kristen was saying, I'm sure.
I use my femininity.
Exactly, and it works very well. You're winning over the room. But and Kristen was saying before, you didn't really know when to shut that down because out of fear that they could potentially, for work especially, just say, okay, screw it. Now you don't want to sleep with me. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Yeah. So it does get very confusing for a lot of women. But I think what you were just saying, that once you do figure out that balance of how to put yourself out there and be open while still respecting your relationship and who you are and what you want to give to the other person, then you can have a balanced scenario where those things don't happen as much. But for a lot of guys who are listening, who maybe are in a relationship right now or who have been in past relationships, I want to talk about jealousy for a second, because I think that's an interesting conversation to have. I've never really been overtly jealous, but I know a lot of guys who write into me, they struggle with it, of how to actually separate like the jealousy and trust the girl that they're with.
Well,
so
there could be two things at play.
Yeah.
One, your girlfriend or wife's a whore, and you should have every right to be jealous because she's.
Well, then you don't want to be jealous. You're like, just never
take her.
Or and getting back to what Jen was talking about, the idea of how you present yourself as a woman, guys pick up on that very easily. We're very dumb. And I'm not speaking just for myself. When it comes to instinctual understanding of especially unspoken human communication, guys are so much worse at that than women are. Women are so much better at picking up on kind of signs and body language, and Guys are just so blind to that.
They're like, she's talking to me and looking me in the face. She wants to sleep with me.
Right.
But
She must.
But if a girl presents herself with real and not bravura, with legitimate confidence, that you smell that like a shark smells blood. I mean that. So the best way for women, I think, when it comes to jealousy, especially if you're a single woman, to kind of use that litmus test to find the insecure guys is really be a truly confident in who you are. Only really confident, stable guys are going to be able to kind of deal with that.
Yes, 100%.
Because if you're not, it really fucks you up. I mean, it kind of. And,
well, what about on the flip side for guys?
Yeah.
Because I want for both people of how to handle the jealousy. So if you are dating somebody who does happen to go out and her job is to socialize with men, how do you control that jealousy, or what's the conversation that you have with your significant other to calm that down so the jealousy doesn't drive the two of you apart or possibly make her uncomfortable in her workspace?
Well, I think for me personally, I think the first thing starts with trust. I think that if there's any lacking in trust and the insecurity on the guy's part, then certainly that's going to breed more jealousy. Right. So first and foremost, I think if you have trust in the significant other, my husband and I are very, he's an actor. He has to have sex scenes with beautiful women, like he has to make out with girls on screen. And I get asked all the time, like, are you jealous? Like, how do you not get jealous? And I say, I'm comfortable in our relationship. Like, I know where he stands on fidelity. I know, we have value in what's important to us. And so I think the first and foremost is having that comfortability of trust in a relationship.
Well, that was a good point that you just made. You said you know where he stands on those things, which means you've communicated them before.
Yeah.
So what was the conversation that you had before about your values and about where he stands?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say we have a relationship where we go to church, like very rooted in God's very present in our relationship. So I think that is a very personal thing because that creates a very big value system for us. But the relationship that we did have, or the conversation that we had about it was just his kind of his take on it. And he said, look, there's always going to be temptations out there, and you're going to be in a relationship and things are going to start feeling a certain way, and you're going to meet something that seems new and it's going to seem great, and that's going to all of a sudden maybe you feel like it's going to fulfill these needs that you have, but then all of a sudden you're going to go and let's say you call that and you say, okay, I'm going to go try this out. Well, that's going to get old, and there's no truth in it. There's always going to be something that you feel like is better when you've always got something great, and you just need to work at developing that and keeping it great. And so, like, hearing that, I'm like,
then you know where he stands.
I know where
Absolutely.
he stands. Like, he values our relationship and the commitment that we made. I haven't met a lot of guys like my husband, so I scooped him up.
Right.
But you would hope that is so. That for me is like, I know that we communicate really well, and that he knows that yes, there's other things out there, but there's really no truth in that because you just feel like it's filling this need at this time, and then that's going to get old, and then you're just going to constantly be hopping around trying to try different things from relationship to relationship, where you just need to realize what you have and why it's great, and working to build that up.
Well, the good lesson in communication there is that he was open enough to share his opinions on how he feels about infidelity and cheating, and I'm guessing you did the same thing as well to help calm him down.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of guys don't even want to touch on that topic because there was some truth in that they would possibly think could get them into trouble by saying, yes, there is temptation out there. Because I know that a lot of guys are afraid to say
they're like,
things.
if Kristen Carney exists, there's temptation.
Exactly. But that's well, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the guy here, but I would think that a lot of guys are always fearful of setting off that like pissed off trigger in women. So little things like saying there are options out there could piss off a woman, so they choose not to say.
Well, yeah, there's two things at play there. One, no woman should be as naive to believe that there is like. What world are you in, ladies,
in
where you're like,
land, where
like,
suddenly,
oh, well, he doesn't look at any other girl but me. That's the chick who gets upset because he watches porn. It's like, what does he not see in me that is in these porn? It's like, it has nothing to do with you. He just has a penis and he's a crazy animal.
Naked.
Yeah.
Right.
And another thing is, it's like, it's so strange, and I don't think it's all guys' fault. And I think it's culture as a whole. I'll never forget. I got like in a lot of trouble with a relatively highly regarded publication because they were interviewing me about like my relationship, and they're like, they're like, it must have been really easy to give up on the bachelor lifestyle, you know, and once you met your wife. I was like, no, it was pretty hard. And they're like, what? She was like, excuse me? And I was like, well, yeah, because I was fucking a lot of chicks. When I was on Dancing with the Stars, it was crazy. I would the girls would walk up to me and say, come fuck me, and I'd do it. And then I had to really narrow it down to one.
Yeah.
And that was tough for a while. I mean, but you know, the end, it way outweighs what was offered to me. But there was some part of me that was, and they like had to have the editor talk to me, and they're like, they're like, are you sure you want this printed? I was like, are you guys? Do you live in fucking retard land? What are you talking about? And that was a real thing. So I think that there's still this perception that, like you said, not only is it are guys intimidated to admit that, there's some notion that it's negative to feel that way.
Human being. That's the whole thing. Like I say to my husband, okay, when we are walking down the street and I see a nice ass, whether it's a girl's ass or a guy's ass, whatever it is, my head goes to the right.
Sure.
So how can I ever expect him not to have the same natural response to seeing a nice